Alright, just hold on. Just a second. Just hold on. Hold on. And that never gets old. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ironworker Gaming channel for another Destiny 2 viewer-requested weapon review, where we take a look at a weapon's stats and damage numbers and analyze its performance in both the PvP and PvE side of the game. Just one quick piece of housekeeping before we get going. This was not the next weapon on the list. I hopped over the 7th Seraph Carbine because I just reviewed two 450 RPM auto rifles, and I'd like to save this one for Beyond Light, hoping that the archetype gets a little love. Oh, and everyone be sure to say hi to Geekermon too, he unknowingly made a cameo in this video. Next up was supposed to be the Mida Mini Tool, whose fate at this point is kind of a mystery, not knowing if it's going to be reintroduced or just be completely sunset. So rather than reviewing that gun, I looked for a suitable replacement. So as I scrolled down my list, I found the Huckleberry, by request of Mayfia and Buckaroo Bonsai. Huckleberry I feel is one of those weapons that may have fallen off many Guardians' radars, largely due to the current sandbox. SMGs are yet another weapon class that are having trouble getting any traction. But if it's traction you're looking for with an SMG, I think Huckleberry may be one of the best options. At close range, Huckleberry can output a very high amount of damage in a short period of time, making this weapon a very strong option for both PvP and PvE, and we'll cover what makes this SMG such a solid choice on either side of the game. But as always, we'll also take a look at some ways in which it falls flat. And if at any point during this video you find it helpful, useful, or enjoyable, liking and subscribing are both great ways to show your support. But we'll kick things off by taking a look at Huckleberry's stats and perks. Huckleberry is an exotic kinetic submachine gun shooting at 750 rounds per minute with 30 rounds in the magazine. When taking a look at the stats, both the range and the handling are pretty good. The stability is average and the reload speed is very poor. And actually that reload speed is by far the worst for any SMG in Destiny 2. Checking the hidden stats on light.gg, Huckleberry has an aim assist value of 49 and a bounce intensity of 0, which causes this weapon's recoil direction to be mainly vertical. Checking in with Destiny Tracker for the usage rate, Huckleberry is sitting at the 106th most used gun in Quick Play Crucible game modes over the past month. And our intrinsic trait is Ride the Bull, increasing Huckleberry's rate of fire and recoil while holding down the trigger. Also, kills with this weapon will reload a portion of the magazine. When looking at the perk set, there is no true exotic perk, but Huckleberry does have ricochet rounds, allowing the bullets to bounce off hard surfaces, and Rampage, giving it a brief 10% damage buff with each kill stacking up to 3 times. And there is a catalyst available for Huckleberry that when first released was dropping from activities on Mars or Mercury, but I do believe it's simply just a random drop from any activity now. Once it is obtained though, it will require 500 enemies killed to unlock it. And when unlocked, any kill with Huckleberry will fully refresh the weapon's magazine. And with all that covered, let's head over to the Tribute Hall to explore this weapon's functionality a little bit further. Alright, well first off, get a sense for the weapon's damage output. Both Huckleberry and its legendary 750 RPM counterpart, Cold Front, hit for 1104 points of damage on a crit and 761 points of damage to the body. So Huckleberry does not carry with it any intrinsic increased base damage. But due to the Ride the Bull intrinsic trait, we will see a fire rate increase. To try and figure out how much exactly, I took a sample size of 6 clips and watched each one back frame by frame. Things averaged out to where the first 10 bullets were dispersed in 0.87 seconds, the next 10 rounds were dispersed in 0.83 seconds with Ride the Bull times 1, and the final 10 rounds in 0.8 seconds with Ride the Bull times 2. And since I do tend to fancy myself a man of science, I wanted to see what Cold Front clocked in at, which I found to be 0.85 seconds for 10 rounds fired. So with Huckleberry, after the first 10 rounds touch off, the fire rate does exceed that of a base aggressive frame SMG. But if those fire rate numbers didn't quite seem right to you, that's okay, because they didn't seem right to me either. This is something I've always wanted to dig into, and I think we can explain this a little bit better when we get into the PvP damage numbers. But another thing I wanted to test out is, can we exceed Ride the Bull times 2 by refreshing our magazine with a kill? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is no. No matter how long you hold down that trigger, you cannot exceed 2x. And lastly, for the effective range, I have Huckleberry putting out full damage from roughly 16.5 meters away. By stepping back to 17 meters, we do start to see damage fall off. And that fall off will bottom out at 33 meters away, where you'll be outputting half as much damage. I think we're all wrapped up here, so let's head into some PvE activities and talk about the weapon's performance. For your baseline PvE activities, Huckleberry does a very nice job of shredding up trash ads, and really, the more the merrier. If there are trash ads just littering the playing field, you can really get a sense of how strong Ride the Bull, the Exotic Catalyst, and the Rampage perk are when they're all working in tandem. This allows Huckleberry to benefit from an increased fire rate, increased damage, and the fact that as long as you're killing enemies, you're never going to have to reload your weapon. For me personally, I really like pairing Huckleberry with the Devour skill tree on the Void Warlock, since when Devour is procced, I'm getting healed with every kill also. This really allows for extremely aggressive gameplay, diving headfirst into packs of ads. I especially like this setup in Gambit, where it gives you the ability to quickly clear out sides of enemies while keeping yourself at close range to gather motes in the process. And if you do have the Catalyst unlocked, you'll also be generating and picking up your Orbs of Light. But unfortunately, efficient ad clearing is the only true strength of this weapon. Huckleberry is an SMG, meaning close range firepower, and depending on the difficulty of the content, close range can be a dangerous place to be. Plus, Huckleberry can struggle with single target damage against bosses or majors. Now we do have that increased fire rate upping our damage output a little bit, but when dealing with a single target, we won't see the benefits of Rampage or have our magazine refreshed if there are no other ads on the field. And manually reloading Huckleberry is very slow, which really can eat into the sustained damage output of this weapon. Then, the endgame viability of this weapon is not great. You're spending your exotic slot on a close range primary, which is oftentimes ill-advised. Plus, with enemies generally having more health and hitting harder, you'll probably find less opportunities to really get in tight with Huckleberry and see max results. But with that, let's head into PvP and see how Huckleberry holds up on that side of the game. Alright, kicking things off with the damage numbers. Huckleberry will hit for 22 points of damage on a crit and 16 points of damage to the body, giving us an optimal time to kill of 0.67 seconds requiring 9 crits, and a body shot time to kill of 1 second requiring 13 shots landed. If you do have Ride the Bull proc though, your optimal time to kill can drop as low as 0.53 seconds, and the body shot time to kill can dip down to 0.8 seconds. When squaring off against the Guardian in a roaming super though, I found that you can drop them in 1.2 seconds provided you land 18 crits. And let me stop here to explain the fire rate thing. These time to kill values are the universally agreed upon numbers calculated off the weapon's fire rate, but they don't exactly line up with my testing in the Tribute Hall. When clocking my actual time to kill versus Agent Sparkles though, the universally agreed upon numbers are very close to the numbers that I was finding. The two things that I think are causing this are 1, some in-game latency, but mainly hit registration. Now, I've watched this footage back in slow motion to the point of nauseum, and the best thing that I can say is the actual hit registration of the bullet and the on-screen animations are not as tightly linked as one might think they are. But I just thought I'd share this piece of information with you because I find stuff like this pretty interesting. But anyway, how does Huckleberry perform in the Crucible? Well, from close range, Huckleberry is extremely powerful. Those base time to kills are fast. 0.67 seconds for an optimal time to kill is one of the best you're gonna find in the game. Very few primary weapons can top this. And that 1 second body shot time to kill is nothing to sneeze at either. Only bested by adaptive frame SMGs in the weapon class by a very small margin. And then we compound that with the fact that we're getting a fire rate increase as we lay on the trigger, causing those time to kills to get even better, making Huckleberry more lethal and more forgiving even if you happen to miss a few shots early in the magazine. You can also make good use of the increasing rate of fire by pre-firing corners or short lanes as you enter them if you're aware of a nearby enemy target. And all the previous benefits are before you even secure a kill. Once you do, Rampage kicks in and Huckleberry's damage output is increased even further. And provided you have the Catalyst unlocked, your weapon is automatically reloaded after a kill. This can provide you with a huge advantage against any other enemy Guardians that are in the area. And if you can get the drop on a group of enemy players, the potential is there for Huckleberry to shred through them very quickly. And since this is a pretty formidable exotic primary with a Catalyst that has a strong chance of scoring multi-kills, you might as well kit yourself out with Taking Charge and High Energy Fire to get another damage buff on any orb that you create, making an already strong weapon that much stronger. Oh, and by the way, that's not a bad idea for PvE either. Also, the solid range stat with the respectable aim assist does seem to do a good bit in aiding this weapon land its shots. The next couple of points are kind of going to bridge the pros to the cons. First, the stability. I really don't think it's too bad. On paper, it's the best of the 750 RPM SMGs, but I suppose that's not saying a whole lot. I'm okay with it though, and I really don't even notice the recoil increase from the Ride the Bull intrinsic trait. I don't struggle to stay on target, and overall I feel that Huckleberry is fairly reliable, even when firing from the air. But as I said earlier, I do play on PC where visual recoil is not as intense due to the wider field of view. On console, this archetype of submachine gun can be inherently unruly, so if you're on PlayStation or Xbox, this is something you may want to look out for. Next is the fact that we are dealing with a weapon with a 16 meter optimal range, meaning you're gonna have to play in tight to be effective with Huckleberry. Given the fact that many Guardians do like to play more aggressive in the Crucible, this isn't a major issue, but if you tend to play on the passive side, this weapon may be asking you to put yourself in positions that you're not comfortable with. The close range nature of the weapon class also plays into the ability to deal with roaming supers effectively. Now you can drop them pretty quickly if you can chain together the crits, but because of the high mobility of roaming supers, this can be a big ask, and all in all, a risky play to attempt. On to the bad though, and there are only two main issues. Adaptive frame auto rifles are currently the more versatile choice. They can kill almost as quickly as Huckleberry can, and can be used from twice as far away. And while the optimal time to kill is a shade slower, they only ask the user to land 7 crits in one body, as opposed to 9 crits when wielding Huckleberry. They're currently just a little more user friendly. And the other con is the reload speed. It's really bad. My workaround for this as a Warlock is simply to use Ophidian aspects. But without them, an enhanced SMG loader would be an absolute must. With no enhancements whatsoever, I timed the reload speed to be 2.3 seconds, which is way too long for a weapon that needs to be used in close quarters. I mean, it's a super cool reload animation, but you just don't want to be watching it for that long. So for the verdict, all in all, I still feel that Huckleberry is a very strong weapon, even 3 years after its initial release. It can serve as a fun and effective option in Gambit or baseline PvE activities, but I've always felt like this gun was built for the Crucible. Currently, is it the best option? No, but I really think that it can compete. It definitely has a lot going for it if you're a player who likes to push the pace and play in tight. And even for myself, as someone who would rather play more passive, Huckleberry allowed me to put some really nice matches together on this go-round. So if you haven't used Huckleberry in a while, I'd say it's definitely worth picking up and trying out for a few games. You might be pleasantly surprised. And if you did enjoy this video or found it useful in any way, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. If you'd be interested in catching me live, I do stream on Twitch. Look for Ironworker814 over there, drop me a follow, and you will get notified whenever I hop on. And to contact me, simply comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.